Hi everyone, I'm Aviad Cohen from AVMASTER. Today we are delighted to have Mr. Mike Blackman, Managing Director of Integrated Systems Events.
Hi, Aviad. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So Mike, this is a wonderful opportunity to have you here. We're very happy. Um, Had so many things going on with the AV industry. I think the last AV event that held place this year was in ISE 2020 and recently Infocom China. And this obviously was very interesting. A lot of questions arose, and we're happy to have you here so we can ask you directly. So, being a veteran in this industry, you having seen trends come and go and had some challenges along the way, we can only imagine how much the COVID-19 that caught us all by surprise, um, caught you by surprise as well.
Yeah,
Actually, the
absolutely.
magnitude of
Yeah.
it. At what moment did you decide moving ISE 2021 from February to June at the background you have at Fira Barcelona? What does it mean moving the largest AV trade show in the world to a different date?
Well, Aviad, it's not easy. It hasn't been easy to do. Firstly, we had to make sure we could secure alternate dates. Um, ISE is a very, very large show. It took up the whole of the Amsterdam Rye. And moving to Barcelona, we're taking the majority of the facility. So many locations, many event fairgrounds, they try and get maximum capacity. And that could also mean that they actually run maybe two or three shows at the same time. Um, so we had to make sure, firstly, we had enough time to build the show, to run the show, and to dismantle the show. And finding a slot was, one of the first challenges to find something that worked for us, and to find the place. Secondly, then having then talked to our exhibitors, talking to people in the industry, just to get their feeling. We did a few surveys, we did a lot of phone calls, just to get a sense of feeling. We were convinced that and we still are, that we can actually run a safe and secure exhibition based on all the activities we did to make the venue safer. But seeing the explosion of new cases of COVID, seeing the um, lack of confidence or loss in confidence of some people about safety or confidence to travel, we decided it would probably be best to move the show a few months later when it's warmer, when there's more chance of the COVID cases reducing, a vaccine being available, all sorts of factors, just to make sure that not only our exhibitors, but also our attendees felt safe in the environment to come and do business.
Interesting. Thank you. Question number two. What are the challenges Avixa is facing these days? What are your partners seeking at this time? What does I've seen you guys, I've seen Avixa send out a lot of questionnaires. It's interesting to see the data that they're looking at. Could you share some insights?
Yeah, I can tell you from our point of view what's being done. We are owned by Avixa and CEDIA, represent both the commercial and the residential parts of the AV business. And the challenge that both organizations, but particularly Avixa, has at the moment is actually bringing confidence back into the industry, providing information that will give not only manufacturers but also integrators and everybody in the channel and the end customers ideas, motivation, showing them where this is going and giving them ideas of what they might be able to do to sort of keep their businesses alive. So a lot of what has been provided in the past has been based on helping companies and customers to see how they get through this.
Wonderful. And interesting, of course. So one of these, every year it feels like we have a trend. I think it was 2016 or 2017 that the XR was
Mm-hmm.
introduced, had an entire hall for themselves. And then the Flat Frog technology jumped in, and that was a new thing. All the touch and collaboration boards. Obviously,
Mhm.
UC is taking a big chunk, but I was wondering, what do you see about trends? Which trends or what trends do you see emerging once this pandemic
And
is over?
well, certainly UC is one of the biggest trends that's going to keep emerging. We were focusing on UC last year as one of the biggest growing trends that we saw in the AV sector. This year, the challenges that have been created by COVID-19 has just really pulled UC to the forefront. If you look particularly in the public domain, while some people were using things like Skype, whatever, I think you'll find businesses have always been using collaboration solutions of some sort. But if you go into the public sector now and see how many people are actually not only have heard of Teams or have heard of Zoom or have heard of Blue Jeans or Starleaf, it's the amount of people who are actually using it now. Even my son in his school uses Teams. I think this has been one of the biggest trends that's actually been happening there. What we will see is some adaptation. COVID has made has damaged a lot of businesses, and those businesses are trying to survive. So some of the trends you're seeing now is how they're adapting AV to actually help them deal with the situation. Digital signage has come really in the forefront. My local media Mart actually has a traffic light system which is showing information on the front. People are queuing in front of the store because the store has a limited capacity. And the traffic light system tells them how many people are in the store. So you get an idea to see as you arrive how full or how empty it is. And it activates them to say, okay, there is space for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more people to come in now. And then the traffic light goes red and it changes. And so, one of the worst things I think for anybody, I hate queuing. But if I know that, okay, I don't have to queue so long, or I have some sort of idea of what the wait is, then I'm prepared to actually say, okay, I can do my email, or I'm standing there, or whatever. So information and dissemination of information, actually distribution of information, is becoming a key trend in the high street, in businesses, etc. And that's where our business is actually helping on that. So you're already seeing a big growth in collaboration. Digital signage is coming more to the forefront. I hate to say it, but I wonder how many companies are actually reconsidering what they do about meeting space. One of the trends that we see and may happen is decentralization of work, because people have got used to working from home. Yes, they miss the water cooler and the corridor discussions, but they're getting to that. There's even discussions in a moment in Germany where they're pushing for a law to make the right to work from home so many days a week or month as part of employment law. So, these are things that are happening will actually affect us. Outdoor events, live events have suffered dramatically. And I think they're going to have the biggest challenge in trying to reinvent how they're going to cope with the current situation, or how they plan for the future of what they're doing. Cinema, same thing as well. So, how do we continue with social distancing in live events? How do we make things like that work? I've seen some companies, we've seen a resurrection of outdoor cinemas, car cinemas.
I've attended the one. It was very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Poorly
and that was
done,
almost,
but very nice.
yeah,
Very nice experience. Poorly done, but it was
yeah.
very nice.
But
Yeah.
but they're learning from that. Probably, what you experienced was done as an emergency. Say, come on, let's get this back up. But I wonder how many companies now are starting to think, actually, this is not such a bad idea. And if we can create a complete atmosphere and a complete experience out of it, maybe there's a resurrection coming for the outdoor. What do you say in English? I would say in German, Autokino, and someone corrected me the other day.
Really? This would be.
But
I think this is. I think it hastened some of the evolution that was taking place. Anyway,
yeah,
it's interesting, and I love
so
that you're using Avixa is using all that research and putting it back, putting back that value inside the market, saying we're not just interested in getting funds. We're returning these funds as knowledge and as
Yeah.
tools, has not only how to grow to make a bigger profit, but actually to restore yourselves or reinvent yourselves from the data that we have.
Yeah.
What you described about Media Mart was is brilliant. I haven't seen any of that, but perhaps we live in a different environment.
Well,
But
you'll
yeah,
see it being, this is information that gets spread because the first person who sees it in one place said, actually, I can use that. So it starts to become, there's no proprietary information being held. It's a general concept, so everyone can use it, and you'll see it being used more and more places. And as I said, the association, what you have to recognize is that ISE and the associations don't survive without this industry. So it's in our own interest to make sure that the industry survives. We as an organization are focused just on the AV industry and only that. So it's very important that to do everything to keep it alive.
so I think there was. I was thinking, we've had Infocom canceled out this year, and VIX ISE being moved to June, and live events as trade shows is to see more trade shows, to be more exact. And then we've seen the rise of virtual events, and as as we put it at AVMASTER, we specifically spoke about Infocom China happening, and we discussed this before the interview, and the logic behind it, which makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clearing that up. But we do feel, and I presume you have the data to support that, AV trade shows need to be experienced live. But before we go to that, a lot of virtual events were made. We've seen some interesting virtual events made by some of your partners and one of the largest vendors in the industry. So I think they will remain with us. But question is, you as a person who sees the long distance, how do you see virtual events leveraging these trade shows or live events?
The virtual events, there are parts of it that can work well. Having speakers who will discuss topics and give information, presenting research, even some educational elements work extremely well. But for the AV industry, I think our survival is there as a trade show because people need to touch, they need to feel, they need to see it. How do we present 8K over Zoom or Teams? How do you show? Yeah, this is you've got to see it live. Today I received an email, and I thought it was the ultimate oxymoron. There's a show in Japan called Live Entertainment Expo, and the announcement on the email was Live Entertainment Expo, now virtual. I feel sorry for them because everything they're trying to demonstrate is about live events, and all the exhibitors, everything they're showing, this is going to be really difficult for them to present themselves, and it's become an emergency solution. It's a band-aid for having cut your stomach open. It's not going to suffice long term. It patches some little elements, but long term, it's not going to work. Elements of it will work. We will continue with ISE in both being live and a virtual part of it as well, because certainly for 2021, we do not anticipate that everybody will feel comfortable or be able to travel to Barcelona. And we want to give some of the experience, those elements we think will have value digital. We want to give still to those people. Long term, we see the value of presenting some parts of what we're doing virtually, but you can't present the whole of ISE virtually. That part of meeting and getting demonstrations to show products in real life, you cannot change. You can't take that out. You can't exchange it for something. So, you know, the only thing you can exchange it for is that if every manufacturer does their own roadshow and invites everybody to their facilities to actually show them.
It's extremely nice, but as you said, it won't. It's not. It's not that it's not good. It just won't suffice. I think anyone who's ever attended ISE or Infocom for that matter, I remember the first time I visited the ISE, I was taken by awe. Just everything was coming at me, and I think I was near the either layered or one of the huge LED boards. It looked so amazing, and nothing felt close to that. So
you can't have that wow effect on screen here.
next year's I was already attending with customers as a consultant, and every single one of them, regardless of their position, said, "Thank you for persuading me. I would never imagine how it feels to actually see and experience everything. I'm so open to things I've never seen. I've networked with other people, and I've had so many chances." So what I see in my
mind, you just hit a real key point that you just cannot get in the same way. Networking with other people. Our research has shown that one of the key elements to ISE is the networking opportunity, meeting with your peers, meeting with other people in the business and learning from them one-to-one or one-to-many. So this is a key element that, you know, we've looked to see how can you do that virtually, and it's just, it doesn't work in the same way.
It doesn't click the same way. You have to do so many, you know, some actions to get there. And they told me you can click to speak to someone. I want to touch, I want to pat them on the shoulder. I want to read the name tag. I want to be there. And I was imagining that I had this conversation at AVMASTER, how I see that. And I think what I told them, I think the virtual live events or the virtual attendance is gonna be immersed inside the live events somehow. I believe the XR guys could, you know, they could leverage this for their businesses easy, and that would be awesome. Seeing everybody like at the NBA games, everybody huddling up, whoever really can't travel for one or other reason, or they want to attend some of the show from their hotel room. This could be a new one, and I think that would contribute to growth, you know, at the end.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the other problem as well with virtual events, our experience so far and the research and feedback we've got from everywhere is that you will fly to Barcelona and you'll spend 2, 3, maybe even 4 days there. And, you know, at least 4 or 5 hours a day, you're on the show floor, at least, with the various meetings, etc. Our experience so far has been that in virtual events, people are not prepared to actually commit so much time focused on it. It's very difficult sitting on the screen and also not being distracted by other things going on.
Yeah, that's I think one of the more interesting points we had so far. And really, again, thank you. So one final question. Use your crystal ball. Like 5 years from now, how are live events and trade shows affected by this? By the COVID-19, by the global pandemic? How are they affected 5 years from now?
So I would say certainly 5 years from now, maybe we're a little more sophisticated with what we've learned from going through this. And, you know, you've got to look at this now and say, we've been in this now 6 months. There have been a myriad of live events that have taken place for the lack of any other opportunity. And, you know, we're learning from every single one. I believe in the next 12 months, we'll still be learning and improving what we can do with virtual events. But still, live events will exist. Live events will continue. I think that Um, Certainly, there will be a virtual part to all the live events. We tried some years ago to actually have show TV, to actually broadcast out. And at that time, we looked at it more as a way to actually reach and give information to the people who are attending. Maybe what we're going to be looking at now in the future is doing not the same way, but some sort of broadcasting or narrowcasting, where we're not trying to reach the people who are in Barcelona, but the people who didn't come to Barcelona. And as we learn more about how to do that in a better way, and also how to get interaction in a good way, that will be part of trade shows in the future. Certainly for the short term, we're looking at hygiene. In the long term, I believe we'll still be looking at hygiene because COVID is not going to be the last pandemic. We've had SARS back in 2002. We've had various things happening, and I don't believe this will be the last one. I'm not preaching doom and gloom here, but I think what we're going to be looking for in 5 years' time is to make sure we're more prepared for such situations. That venues have that built in. It's not a case of suddenly venues are putting things in to deal with it. It becomes part and parcel of how they're designing and building venues for live events and trade shows. So yes, there will be changes in how we do trade shows, but I guarantee trade shows will still exist as in-person events.
Interesting. Mike Blackman, I would like to thank you on behalf of myself and AVMASTER and our viewers. And I am looking forward to getting more news, more updates, and hoping to see you soon, maybe in person. Until then, keep up the great work you do there. And thank you for your time.
Aviad, thank you too. And I look forward to seeing you in Barcelona. And, maybe we're talking about, how we're going on for the next years and how 2022 will be even better.
Here's to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.